Welcome back to another episode of Rhythm and Roam. We're so excited to be all together. I'm Benef, and I'm here with Trecia and Paul, and this is the podcast where we talk about our travel adventures as they relate to culture. Cultural similarities, differences, misconceptions, and all the craziness in between. And this is a very special show.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this is the first time we're ever in the same...
Like, I just met Trecia, I don't know.
Like physically.
Yeah,
like,
physically, but
yeah.
like
Yeah,
an hour ago.
Yeah.
So,
This is
amazing.
insane.
But first of all, I mean, we have to say we're all in Denver. So that we've all converged
Yes.
onto, we're in Denver, Colorado today.
All in one spot.
Evidently.
Kind of first of everything. Just met Benef today.
Yes.
Like we're actually like full on makeup. We actually have on like a full outfit. We actually have...
Like we're not on a Zoom channel where we're just seeing like the waist up kind of thing and stuff
Exactly.
like
I
that.
don't know. I don't know.
It's nice.
I think I specifically just wanted a
They
video
have,
from
like,
the waist up, right?
shoes. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the whole, like
We're
doing
you know,
things.
We're lit. I don't know if the people are saying that
It's
right now.
also the start of season 2.
Yes,
So, I
yay.
mean, can you believe that we
I know.
did 11 whole episodes?
That's a lot,
That's a
and
lot.
it doesn't
It is.
seem. It went by really
lot.
fast, and
did.
time goes by really fast. And you know what? Since it's our first, I have to say this. I really, really do enjoy working with you two young, beautiful ladies.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you guys very much
Say
for
it
being
again. Say it again, Paul. Young. I
Okay.
like to hear that.
these young, beautiful. Of course, you guys are young,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff like that.
Yes.
So,
No,
I do appreciate it, and it's been fun. It's been a great ride.
has
We
been a
all
good
been,
ride.
you know,
Yeah.
we just kind of like clicked and went together.
And also excited to see where the season takes us.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of great things that's gonna, you know, come together. And I would not have missed this, you know. So I said, "Damn it, I'm leaving Paris and I'm coming to Denver."
That's
And
right,
it was the
that's
best
right.
thing,
Wow.
decision ever, kind of thing too,
Yeah.
as well. So, yeah.
Well, and you also invited some special guests for
Yes.
the
Yes.
show today.
And I thought it would be an appropriate episode to be able to do that. And as soon as I knew that you, Trecia, at first, I think it started with you because you said you were going to come to Denver.
Yes.
And then I was like, wait a minute. Benef lives in Denver,
Yes.
or not Denver, but Colorado.
Yes.
And I was like, then why in the hell? Why don't we just all meet up? I'm the only one that's far away, and I'll just fly or something like this or whatever. And it worked out. And then I just said, but wait, I have a buddy who I know from my time in the military and in college who also lives in Colorado.
Yes.
And I was like, this is perfect because he has a great story, and I thought it would be great for us to do this between him and his wife. We both went to college in Miami. I went to University of Miami. He actually went to Florida International University, but we met through ROTC and the ROTC program at the University of Miami. And Norbert, great guy. We, you know, end up getting into the same military, I don't know how you would say, branch of service.
That's exactly what
yeah,
it is.
branch of service.
Yes.
But I just want to make sure that people understand what I mean by that. We both became field artillery officers.
Got it.
And our journey began from there. But he's, you know, obviously prior service and stuff like this too as well. And I don't want to say too much, but I want to be able to explain his journey and his cultural side of the house. He's Latin American, or not Latin American. He's from Puerto Rico and Cuban, but I'll let him.
Let him explain.
Yeah, we'll let him. We'll let him.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
let
let
him
all
him
explain.
what exactly all that means.
And then his wife has a great story too as well. And I thought that this would be a fabulous entry to our first episode to our second season.
Yes.
Let's bring him out, yeah.
Let's bring out Norbert, and then we'll go from there. Norb,
Welcome.
welcome.
Hello.
Good seeing you again, buddy.
Good to see you.
As usual, have a seat. Oh my God.
Thank you
Dapper.
so much
Thank
for
you for
agreeing
being
to
here.
do this.
Well, thank you for having me.
A whole studio camera, mic in your face thing for you.
Absolutely.
Now, I mean, obviously, you know, we were just talking. I was, you know, talking about how our long, you know, time of knowing each other and stuff like that. And I just wanted to, if you could just start by giving just a little of yourself and where you're from and your background and stuff like that, and we go from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, colorful background. I know, right? It's like, where do I start?
Colorado, geez.
Yeah. No, no, my on my dad's side, you know, Cuban family. They left Cuba late in 1961, landed in Miami. My grandfather happened to be working for an American company that offered him job anywhere he wanted. He couldn't speak English, so he said, "I'll go to Puerto Rico." And so that's how they ended up there.
Of course.
My mom, was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and that's how they met. And then by the time I was 14, we moved to Miami. And
beautiful Miami.
Beautiful Miami.
Yeah.
And so I went through my high school years in Miami, and then I met Paul in college.
Yeah. Because I was the best one that he met. But.
Exactly. Best dancer for sure.
Oh, God. We're not going to talk too much about that.
But we were talking about this, and we want to make sure we fully understand, like, how do you identify yourself? Because you're like, he's Latin American. You're like, no, he's not. So what do we actually say between, like, Latino, Hispanic?
Because that's something that I brought up. It's many different. It's like, Latino, Latina, Latinx. What Hispanic?
And I don't know.
What is the proper...
I just know you as Norb, and I'm like,
that's right. That's right.
What up?
That's a great question. It really is. Because growing up, none of those things were an option. When you take standardized testing and things of that sort, none of those things were options. So like. Just based on how I look, people, are you white? Yes, I'm white.
Okay. Yes.
I didn't know any better. And then one day somebody says, no, you need to be X in this box. I'm like, but I don't identify as that. So then it started with Hispanic, which is traditionally means someone from,
that's what I would have said.
Latin America. Latino, in the context in which I knew it growing up, it was someone related to the Latin language, what today we call the Romantic languages. Yes. So really the old world, French, Latino would be, Latin would be French, Spanish, Italian, Romanian, Portuguese. But somehow that has translated to today. Yeah. And so I usually when people ask me, I say Hispanic. Not usually, I almost always say Hispanic.
And I think in Miami, that's what most people go.
That's what most people say. Yeah.
Okay. In
now some people. Use Latino. They describe me as Latino, which I'm okay with. The one that typically gets me all spun up is Latinx.
Oh my God, we were just talking about that.
Oh yeah, that's
Trisha. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, Latinx or Latinx. That's
we were just talking about that.
That's.
But what does that actually mean?
Well, it's a gender. Someone in the United States decided to. It's a gender neutral version of saying Latino, Latina.
Yes.
And but to me that feels like cultural appropriation. Why would you take my language and come up with a term in my language to describe me? And I've gone in circles with friends on this topic, and and multi-generational. Like I'll ask my kids, "Hey, how do you feel when people call you Latinx?" And then I've asked my mom, a different generation. And I tell you, I have yet to meet a Hispanic/Latino. That like that term. But you hear it all the time.
Yeah, sure. Right.
I don't know.
No. That's and I'm glad you cleared that up because like I said, I always would say Hispanic or Latino.
Right.
And so on. But this is a good segue to transition into what I'm going to ask you on being, I'm going to say Latino/Hispanic. Yeah. Just for comfort. A minority in the military. Both of us were, but you as
I like to call it, ethnically enriched, because
that's right. That's right.
There you go.
Minor about us.
There you go.
That's right.
But as a minority in the military, how can you give us a little bit of how does that affect you when it comes to traveling or impact you as a minority officer too as well, going through the ranks in the military, and you retired as a full-bird colonel as well. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's important.
But not only that, he was not only promoted, but he was promoted like, what did they say? Double promotion, fast track,
easy, below the
zone. So he was like fast track. So, many times. So I want you to explain to us, when it comes to the travels and deployment, what was that like being in the military, and was there any, I don't want to say hardship, but you know what I'm talking about, from one minority to another, going through the ranks and dealing with different things.
Institutionally, I never felt it. I felt that I was treated exactly like everybody else. Now, individually, within an organization, in my day-to-day dealings with people, it sometimes became more obvious. Sometimes in the form of culture. It's just very different culture. I thought I understood American culture. Well, I'm American. Right. By being born in Puerto Rico, I was born with an American passport.
Absolutely.
So I always identified as American.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you get to, as a young lieutenant, you arrive at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And then you realize very quickly, it's like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm. You're not looking at the value of
part of America.
Yeah, right. It's just like, wait a minute.
America.
People think very differently. They look very different. They value different things. And not that it's bad or wrong. Or, it's fine. It's just different.
Yeah.
And so that was my first eye-opening experience. I'm like, wow.
Right. And to that explain, in leading, did you feel any drawbacks, or did you have any, or traveling, doing traveling too as well? Were you, I don't want to say picked on, but were you always pointed out for, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. I mean, he doesn't look different. I mean, you.
Well,
no. When he speaks, he's going to be. Yes.
Now we spoke about that.
Yeah.
That first wall, right?
Exactly.
And what that is.
Do you feel like when you open your mouth, clearly they're gonna know you're not.
No, right. And that's usually when it happened. Yes.
That's when you get the
walking in.
Are you a citizen?
Walking in. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I can tell you great stories about that.
Exactly.
But walking in, and because of the way I look, it never happened.
Yeah.
Well,
now I had a different twist, where when I was still a young officer, a senior non-commissioned officer that I looked up to, and still do to this day, who was also Hispanic, pulls me aside. And he tells me, you got to navigate this very, very carefully. I'm like, how so? What I don't understand what you're trying to tell me. It's like, well, I see that you hang out with this crowd of other officers, but you're not quite them. Because you're Hispanic. But because of the way you look, the Hispanic people also kind of haven't pulled you in either.
Interesting.
So you're somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And you're going to have to learn how to navigate that. How to enter both worlds.
That's a great point.
Yeah, because you look a certain way, but when you open your mouth, you sound a different way. And so I always, I always had to balance that in my career.
And I think that's where I was going with that, because obviously you can be a chameleon. Like, you don't open your mouth, you're gonna. And I'll walk down the street.
But I must say, I mean, I think that is true for most. I think for most of us that are that are minorities, we have to navigate that, whether in the military or maybe even if it's the corporate world, it's the exact same thing. We do have to navigate those things, because someone will look at me and and make a judgment.
Of course.
But then they hear me and they see me open my mouth, and again having that same discussion and hear me speak, and that's a totally different. Oh well, you're not exactly, no, but where are you really from?
Oh, yeah.
Because now, okay, I know you're not from here. Or, I'm like, what do you mean? What does that mean? So, I think all of us have, some kind of story in that. But that's very interesting.
No, and that's why I wanted to bring that out, because, I mean, I can obviously tell similar stories to what Norb just said too as well, in the sense of, but it was more of, hey, watch how you're, hanging out with the black soldiers and Hispanic soldiers and not the white soldiers. And I'm like, what? Like, I literally had someone said that to me in deployment when we were in Iraq, kind of thing. Right. I mentioned that because it slightly still bothers me, to be honest with you, kind of thing. And
they're all soldiers.
Right.
I hang out with all of them.
But it's the fact that someone would pick something out like that, because it's not true, but it was just interesting in that sense. But that's why I had brought that in there, and I thought it is good. And when it comes to traveling, it's the same thing, I would assume, outside of the military.
Oh yeah. I want to share a story with you guys. That's fascinating. The Army assigned me actually to Spain. At one point in my career, I was assigned to in NATO, Madrid.
Okay, Madrid.
I was in a NATO assignment in Madrid. While I was there, they had a conference that they want to send someone to that was actually back in the United States. It was in San Antonio, near Fort Sam Houston, and they picked me, of all people. They said, hey, we're going to send you to represent our headquarters in this U.S. Army conference in Fort Sam Houston. The whole conference was in civilian clothes. So my tag said, Major Norberto Menendez, Allied Force Command Madrid.
I thought you were Spanish.
But yeah, so the whole week, I was there for a full week in this conference. And on the last day, they had these readouts, like these one-on-one readouts, to get feedback on the conference. So I'm sitting down with them, and I'm like nerding out. I'm like, oh, yeah, when you do this in the future, you should think about this, you think about this. And they were, and when I finished, they were like, man, you know a lot about the U.S. Army. and I looked at them, I'm like, why wouldn't I know a lot about the U.S. Army? They're like, well, being a Spanish officer, like, no, I'm a U.S. Army officer.
Oh my gosh. And it never occurred to them.
Not once in the whole week. I mean, this is like Monday through Friday conference, and this is Friday afternoon. Not once did it occur to them that I was an American Army officer.
That's wild.
And it was all because his name.
And the accent.
And the accent.
Yes.
It's crazy and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, but Americans definitely, like, if you've got an accent, they are going to assume you are not American.
Yes.
That's going to be the number one assumption.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Regardless of whether or not you were born here or naturalized, it doesn't matter. You're clearly foreign. Where are you really from?
Exactly.
But, and I have to ask you this, though. Has that changed, as you saw, and in that situation, and the spaces that you were in, did that change your perception from that moment? Did that change how you saw yourself? Did you find yourself having to, I guess, be more self-aware in who you were speaking with, and I guess you yourself of where you were finding yourself and what groups and how you were traveling and how you were carrying yourself?
It really did. I mean, that assignment was life-altering for me for many reasons. When I moved from Puerto Rico to the United States, I assimilated. I wanted to assimilate. I didn't want to stand out. So I worked really hard at assimilating. Yeah. And in my last name, the middle E has an accent. And typically, when you're schooling forms, there's no place for that. So I stopped using it, and I stopped using it for years.
Yeah.
When I arrived at that headquarters, I'm signing into the headquarters as Spanish non-commissioned officer on the other side of the table, and I slide my paperwork, and he looked at my name, and he scoffed at me. He was like, "Oh, you don't even know how to spell your own name."
No.
Yeah, so I took the paperwork back, and I put the accent, and I pushed it back to him. He's like, "Of course I know how to spell my name." And then his response was, "But why didn't you do it right the first time?"
Oh.
And that stuck with me. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Just because I've assimilated so much doesn't mean I need to give up things that I know were right. I know how to spell my name.
He felt like you were giving up a little bit of your culture a little bit.
So once I returned to the United States, my next assignment was in Washington State, Fort Lewis. I assumed command of a battalion. When they put the name in a big sign outside the headquarters, it had the accent. I started sending my emails.
Oh, you actually put your command sign?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Good.
So they're like little tiny things.
Yeah.
But it's who I am. And living there, going around the country, living there, my daily life, going to the supermarket and stuff, people could pronounce and spell my name correctly. So that was kind of fun. So I just embraced it. I said, you know what? I'm very American. I'm 100% American. But it is okay that my family originally hails from Spain, and it's okay to feel the warmth, and a connection to that.
Yeah. So do you find that younger generations that have different backgrounds than just white America are more comfortable showing that than maybe we were? Because you're adopting it again now. Or
Correct.
You started adopting it again. But what about, like, I'm just trying to understand maybe the 20-year-olds or the teenagers. Maybe they just don't care to fit in or to assimilate if they're coming here.
Like, they have their own definition on things.
Correct.
I
think it's a different time. I agree with that.
Yeah, like it's
I agree
different.
with
It's
that.
not the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I just feel like I get the impression that we're just more accepting now. And I know there's pockets of not accepting, but we see more color.
Yeah.
Definitely see more color.
No, I think, this is also another reason why we decided to do this type of podcast, not only on the travel part, but the culture part, because it's obviously not only interesting, but it's important as people of color to be able to not only understand that, hey, we do travel, hey, we do have, certain different backgrounds and stuff like this, and not to forget where we come from and how we do it and stuff like that too as well. But
when did you retire?
2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago. So you've been traveling
that's
more
yeah.
now.
Oh,
You're free.
Yeah, but and I don't.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want to step on your toes, Trecia, or anything like that. If you wanted to jump into the.
I am, but I wanted you to finish your thought.
No. I was done because I had another thought, but I was waiting and holding back from it and stuff like that and so on.
Well, I mean, and Norb, you definitely said that. That you and somehow along when we were having this discussion, I didn't realize that it was so recently that you actually retired, that you had just left. That's like really recent. So thank you for your service for sure. I mean, that is amazing. But I'm bringing this up, and Paul said it was okay to do this, but after having received your cancer diagnosis that you have, how has it changed your desire now? Because in the military, you traveled for work per se. Now that you've had this diagnosis, how does it feel? How does travel? What does that mean to you now? What does that mean now?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. A lot of things changed. In terms of things that I prioritize. At the time of the diagnosis, I was intending to be in the Army another 10 years. I love what I did. It was fun to me. And but I realized very fast, when you it's that sense of mortality. I'm like, oof, I don't have that much long to live, at least at the time of the diagnosis. Yeah. It's going to play out differently, thankfully. Yes. But at the time of diagnosis, it was like, okay, if I only have this amount of time to live, how do I want to spend that time? And in my case, it was actually travel and my kids. They moved to the top of the list. They should have always been there, but that's for a separate podcast.
We'll try to edit that part out.
No, we won't, because that's real.
It's real. I mean, it really is. It really is.
You're right. You're correct. Yeah.
And
I just didn't want your kids to be like, Dad.
No, they know. We've talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we've talked about it. And then start traveling. I was like, life, the things that I enjoy about the military had a lot to do with travel.
Sure.
And my experiences abroad, whether it was in a combat zone in Afghanistan, because you're still interacting with the people. Yeah. You're still trying to make a difference.
Culture and all this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I want to do more of that, but without a rifle. Mm-hmm. I want to have these experiences. I want to feel fulfilled and happy. Yeah. And so I went all in on that.
Right.
And I spent a lot of time actually in Europe, just bouncing around and I could tell doing
you,
things.
And I, honest to God, I do appreciate you bringing this up, because obviously hearing, what you're going through and stuff like somebody else who's listening is going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And has gone through the same thing. Absolutely. And it definitely would be a motivation for someone else too as well. Inspiration for someone else.
It can be done.
It can be done. And this is why, you're a person who can say, look, this is not an all end all kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is because, and I do want to say this because I know Norb for a long time too as well. And I remember when I heard about it, I was like, there's no effing way. Because this dude, let me tell you, this guy worked his ass off on everything, and it used to drive me nuts. And because and it's not a bad thing. He's a perfectionist, and he's does. But when I heard that, I was like, dude, no way. And you remember, I immediately contacted you because
you did.
It was something on Facebook, and I was like, is this true? I didn't know what to say or whatever like that. And he's like, whatever. But I do want to say I'm glad that the route you're taking and what you're doing and being able to travel, and you have been doing some damn travel and some really cool stuff. Tell us some of the stuff.
You're not traveling alone, though, right?
Yes, not traveling alone.
Who are you traveling with, Paul? Shall we introduce our next guest?
We can.
We should.
And so one of our next guests the beautiful wife of Norb,
Yeah.
is Sheri.
Yes.
And I actually met Sheri while you were traveling.
Yep.
And it was weird because they were in France already,
Yeah.
and you put something on. See, I told you, social media can be good.
Yeah.
And I,
Yes, it can.
yeah,
It can.
and
Absolutely.
I saw them on posted something.
We're
I
on
was like,
social media. We love it.
yeah, and I was like, dude, you're in Lyon already, and that's not too far from Paris. I was like, why don't y'all just
Come
come
and visit.
come and visit? And
Let's
I
bring
want to bring
Sheri
Sheri out and let Sheri be able to give us some more lovely stories. Yes.
Hello.
Have a seat.
Thank you. Welcome to the little show.
Welcome to Rhythm and Roam. I said I wasn't going to try the British accent, but
Don't.
you know
No,
darn
please
well.
don't.
Please do.
Please do.
I would like
the
to hear
Brit
it.
said yes.
We'd have to edit
The
all
Brit
that out.
said yes.
You're sounding
Well, just let me
absolutely
say
insane.
one thing. Would you like a bottle of water?
Oh, that was the one. That's what you say.
This is what
Does he sound like he's from anywhere?
I wasn't. Yeah, you did. That was actually
Thank you.
that was quite good. Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
have to
thank
say.
you.
Yeah, very
Bottle of water?
Better than
Where?
his
Like,
impression. of
Where?
it.
Which portion?
Cockney.
Cockney.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's always Cockney gangster kind of.
It's either like Harry Potter or like the gangster TV type
Yeah.
stuff or like The Crown. That's
Don't
like-
try to hate
Yeah.
because I was able to get what it is that what it
Or
needs.
like some Spice Girl
Yeah,
somewhere.
but no.
Spice Girl.
Thank you for
Thank you for-
also doing. Sorry, I didn't want to jump on you, but thank you for also coming in and doing this with Norbert too as well. It's been really helpful.
So do you consider yourself British or English? Or is it both? If you are English, you are British, but if you're British, you're not necessarily English. Is that correct?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I suppose. Yeah, I see myself as British. I wouldn't see myself as.
Well, no, I mean, and we just recently learned that you
Yeah.
spent most of your time in Africa and Hong Kong, right?
Oh, more so Hong Kong.
mostly
yes.
Hong Kong. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're just, that's like,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. I want to know what that was like. Because I'm sure you did a lot of travel with that too, right?
Yeah, we tended to. I mean, we were very lucky because my father was a commercial airline pilot, so we get to travel quite a bit, which is, you know, a real privilege.
Yeah.
It was
Can you still get some
lovely.
more tickets?
Yeah.
I think
I'm
that
down.
sort of expired when I think it was age of 21, that sort of cheap travel stopped, which is
Expired. That makes sense.
slightly annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were very fortunate in that sense, and we did get to travel quite a lot.
Right.
Which
so,
is wonderful.
well, I guess so. Now I'm going to bring this up because Paul has an issue with like safari situations. Have you ever been on a safari? Like, do you have? I mean, because he has a thing with the animals, and I want to know like what it really is like.
I think I'd like to understand that.
I might explain
bit more
why
as well.
I have an issue. I will explain.
We're trying to understand it.
But no, your experience,
Yes.
you liked it, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Or
I mean, I've only ever been on 2 safaris, and the first time was
Too
when I was
many?
very.
Actually,
Actually, the first occasion I can't really remember because I was so little, and I think my enduring memory was just of my young brother who was really small, and there was this cheetah behind a fence, and it was just sort of eyeing him up, and that was kind of all I really
Yeah.
remember. But the second occasion was, I think it was in 2015. And I guess this is what I was going to say was it really depends on the kind of safari that you go on. But this one was it was with my first husband, and he was actually looking at a job with Frankfurt Zoological Society,
Okay.
anti-poaching. So
okay.
we were out there, and it was very sort of rural, wild Africa, and no fences separating you from anything.
Right.
The water. There are outdoor showers, black mamba snakes in the
Oh,
shower.
God.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Safari.
So
Safari.
it was true safari in every sense of the
Yeah,
word.
that might be a little bit.
But yeah, the tent that we were sleeping in,
Tent?
very no frills. It was amazing. The one next to us, an elephant sat on the night before we arrived.
Yeah, she's doing a great job at convincing me to go on a safari. You're
It was
doing
It's a very glamping.
Sorry,
They do
Paul.
too.
I'm putting you off. Yeah, there are. I think it just very much
There's
depends.
all different levels of safari.
No, I don't mind safaris. I love to look on TV on them. Now, I will go to safari, like I've said before. The reason why I have issue with it because I'm like, we're invading their territory is what I always
Fair,
say.
yes, yeah.
And I always say, I see these and I see a cheetah or jaguar, whatever it is, poached on a safari car, as I guess as we call it, or Jeep or
You
whatever.
watch entirely too much.
No.
television.
These are photos from
These
other
are
people.
TikToks.
Yes.
But it's real. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it can happen. I don't
Yes.
want to be next to that cheetah.
Yes.
Because it might be pissed off that day. And just my day, it'll be pissed off. So that's the only reason.
Yes, but I mean,
But it's pretty.
Well, okay, so if Paul can't do a safari, where should he
he
go in Africa? Because none of us have ever
Yes.
been.
I definitely want to
And
go
we
see
do
my
wanna go.
motherland.
I think I think Africa is just one of these places where, you know, wherever you go, it just really makes you feel like you're at home. So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I could really.
And where in Africa again? Because I don't know if you answered that. Where in Africa did you live? And I know your parents are from.
Yes, so father was from Zimbabwe and mother was born and raised in Zambia.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we still have a sort of large group of family who are out there. South Africa and then also Eastern Cape as well, which I think I'd probably recommend. And I think
I am Cape Town.
Yes,
Cape
That's
Town.
where I want to
Oh,
go.
yeah.
And that's where actually most of when I did that little what is it called? 21 and no, not 20. I said 21 and me.
23 and me.
Oh,
No, the DNA thing.
Yeah, 23 and me.
23 and me. Thank you. I said 21 and me. And it said that a majority of my heritage or background is from Cape Town, South Africa, followed by Sub-Sahara, then England or
Well, yeah.
the UK, English,
Amazing.
whatever.
Yep.
So I do want to go there, and I will definitely get some recommendations from you for
sure.
that because I want to be able to actually walk the lands my founders
Your
walked and
people.
stuff like this too as well.
Yeah,
And
partly British and Irish too. 21%.
okay.
There you go. Maybe, amongst other things. Yeah. So, but that's really cool.
it is,
Very
and but how was it your experience when living out in not only Africa but also in Hong Kong? You said, which majority of it was. Do you speak the language or?
Gee, this is really shameful. It's mainly swear words and
Nice.
taxi directions. So it's not something
It's
to be
about
proud
getting
of.
around. It's about,
Right.
you know, it's the important things.
Yeah, so no, unfortunately, not as much as I really would have liked to.
When was the
But-
last time you've been to any of the places you grew up? I guess other than the UK.
Obviously most recently UK, but Hong Kong last time I was back was when I just had my daughter, and my father was still living and working out there. And I mean, I hadn't returned for, I think it was probably about 10 years before that.
Oh, okay.
So massive changes,
Yeah.
and it was really fascinating to go back and just to see where you grew up, but just, you know, from a different
Very
lens.
different, yeah.
And also in Africa, when was the last time?
So last time I was in Africa was in 2015 for the safari. Yeah, when we were considering moving over there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's fairly recent then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fairly recent. But we had just had my daughter, and it was a malaria hotspot. So
Oh,
it was
yes,
kind of
yes,
maybe not the
yes.
best of
No,
best of moves. But
To do that and stuff like that's excellent and stuff like that. Now, and I hope I'm not going to step over it. I want to change and topic slightly to now you're living in America,
yes.
Colorado to be exact. How do you foresee like living here,
Yes.
our culture,
Yes.
food,
Yes.
the whole gambit?
The
Because we
food-
spoke about this too a little bit when we had
Huge.
dinner in Paris and stuff like this.
This is true, and Paris, I think, for food is a really difficult comparator because that's always amazing for food. But I think because I've had a bit of an experience living in Virginia and working in DC a couple of years ago, and Norb sort of reminds me that it was sort of maybe rose tinted a little bit, and I was living in a sort of expat British government community, and I think I just maybe saw it from a different angle.
Yeah, from their angle, yeah.
So it's really interesting, that question, because I suppose my first true experience of living in the States has really been living in Colorado, and I feel like I'm getting the true experience, which
The
is
glasses
amazing.
are off.
When I say that in just Colorado is beautiful.
Yeah.
We love to ski. We love the outdoors. So that has just been, it's like a playground you're kind of surrounded in. So it's for that reason, it's just been absolutely amazing.
What about the food?
The food was a massive thing when we were on the East Coast. Sorry, you don't like me saying East Coast, but apparently only relates to all of the East Coast and not a specific few.
But she refers to Virginia as the East Coast, and I'm like, that's
I've
the
been
South.
told off a few times.
There's Northern Virginia.
So I think New
that's the
England
South.
area. But,
I knew what you meant.
Thank you. See,
Yes.
I think
Because
that's maybe
technically,
us.
originally, it was the East Coast and it was the colonies. But
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and I think like a lot of Americans are kind of
I knew what you meant.
I don't know, ignorant about British culture, to be honest. Because I got to tell this story because we went to the World Cup, Women's World Cup in 2015 in Canada, and it was a Canada-England game, and so they started playing the English national anthem, and I'm like, I was like, that sounds familiar. And then I'm like, my country. And then I was like, I had no idea that like we totally ripped the song off and like like it was.
I mean, we're
but I
like
didn't
this.
know. No one ever explained where that came
yeah.
from. So clearly that was from colonial times. I was like, that's their national anthem. I didn't know.
It's
the same as
and stuff
God
like that.
Save the King. God Save the
But
King. I did not know that.
But I'm glad that you. But I know you're trying to be nice, probably, and not saying what you really wanted to say about.
say what you mean.
About the food because
Hey, ask her about chicken.
please do. Yeah, what about chicken?
Well, this was on my sort of list of bizarre things, I guess, which I was going to refer to. But I guess the chlorinated chicken bit.
The what?
The chlorinated chicken.
Chlorinated
you guys,
chicken?
you will bleach your chicken, which I find really,
Do we?
yeah.
With like actual chlorine?
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's
Clean
like
it.
that?
It's supposed to be for cleaning.
I use
think.
vinegar.
Yeah, I use vinegar too as well. But some people.
No, when you go to the supermarket in England,
Yeah.
the chicken,
It's very pink.
It looks a
So it's
different
visual.
color
Yeah.
than
So it's-
chicken in the
it's-
supermarket here.
So you're
Yes.
saying they're bleaching it before it's even sold to us?
Right,
Correct.
because it's processed.
It's processed.
Yeah.
That's part of that process we were talking
processing.
about.
It's a
Yeah.
very U.S. thing.
Yes, it is.
And
But
this
as
is
soon as
why-
she moved
Not
here,
know
she was
that.
like, "What is
Notice
this?"
what it is, yes, because it's not fresh per
Yes.
se. Yes.
Everything. That's what I
nasty.
mean. Where the process. And I was telling Benef
Preservation.
and Trecia earlier today. I'm like, man, I've been now in Europe living over 4.5 years now again. And I can easily taste the difference in
our
the
food is-
food
Yes.
that I eat in Europe than back in.
Even the Doritos are healthier.
yeah,
right?
the Doritos are healthier.
And they are.
They label it. You know how they
Yes.
grade everything A
It's
through.
more stringent, I think, their
Yeah.
regulations,
Well,
aren't they?
they're-
Yes,
it's
for
very
sure.
stringent.
Yes.
And the Dorito, they must be making it at a factory there because it's rated B, which is good.
Okay.
In France. And I was like,
They have rules that aren't like money generated.
No, it's all
Our
about
rules
health
are all
and
Yes.
stuff like
money
this. And
related
so on.
with the FDA.
Yeah, and that's great because I always was trying to figure out, what, because let's be honest, British food is also big too as well. So I was just curious.
You mean
to
the
find
portions are big?
portions as well as the food itself.
I don't know. I like
No?
the haggis or like some
Oh.
of that
There's
stuff.
certain
Blood
things that you
pudding.
do get more of.
Well, no,
Yes.
but
But
it's
than
just
others.
It's
Sure,
strange to
sure.
me.
Yeah, no, it's like
as opposed to where I live, where you get everything that's large. So,
And did you? But did you find? Because obviously you have the British accent and stuff. People come up to you and ask you to.
To just read the phone book.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Read the newspaper. Just start to record
Tell
it.
Not does that all the
the
time.
restaurant story.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. No, this is quite funny because my daughter, she's just gone 13, and we walk into a sort of favorite restaurant in Old Colorado Springs, and she goes up, and she's quite confident, which I love. But she walks up to the lady behind the desk, and she goes, "Excuse me," in her sort of plummy British accent. "Excuse me, can we have a table for 3 people?" And the waitress thought that we were sort of taking the mick out of the British accent and putting on a fake British accent. So she turns around and she goes, "Yes, I can seat you at your table. And put on, like, this really fake accent. And then she notices that we're still talking with this British accent.
Keeping the game
so
going.
the look of horror on her face, and she actually swapped tables. She was that mortified. She didn't want. She was so embarrassed.
Oh,
but I thought it was hilarious. And I think you were parking the car at the time.
I would have thought the
It
same
was-
thing. I would have probably done the same thing. I would have thought.
Would you have done that?
I probably
You
would.
said speaking of the British accent.
No.
Oh.
I'm saying if I didn't travel as much as in which I'm assuming the waiter did not travel as much as we do,
It was so funny.
I probably would have been like, but of course, would you like what side of the table?
But when she did it, I thought, what on earth's going on here? I was like, okay, it's a good accent. You've done a good impression. Well done.
Because it's clear that that's something that Americans obviously we love.
We do like to pretend with our accents. Do you do like American? Like, is that a thing? Do British people do American accents?
I want to hear it. I want to hear it, Sherry. Come on, give us a sample.
She's like,
is terrible.
hell.
Give us a sample.
It's so
Let me
bad.
prep you for this.
Okay.
The only American accent she can do is New York 1920s, a child.
Oh, now I have
Scene.
got to hear
Okay.
this.
For whatever reason, that's the only one she can
Take
do.
one.
Ready? I want to hear this. Tell us. I'm
Okay,
the New
so
Yorker.
I'll just sort of set the background. It was a Simpsons episode, and I was like, I think in my teens, and I'd heard it, and that has just stuck forever. And now I say it, and he finds it hilarious, and I can tell I'm going to regret doing this. It just goes, you guys, let's go play some stickball.
You got the ball part. I like it. Let's play some stickball. No, you got that right.
I love
That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah, that was good.
I
That was
love it.
actually really
I
good.
love it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
No, I love it.
It was
This is
great.
good.
And see, here I was supposed to ask you, what do you find Americans, what Americans find completely bizarre or nonsensical? We flipped that. We completely just flipped
No,
that.
it worked good. It worked good.
No, I think it was great.
No,
I love it.
So what are some, and this is obviously
Yeah.
for both of you guys,
Absolutely.
what are any tips that you would, or anything you would want to say to folks who are listening or watching that you, when it comes to traveling? And because you guys are obviously world travelers as well. And for people who have not been outside of the country
Yes.
and travel, or be outside of their city or town, why?
To maybe prepare them
for it.
exchanges that they're
What
going
would
to
they
have
do?
with other people.
Yes,
that
yes.
they may never have seen. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll let you guys do it from your.
marinate on it for a
Yeah.
second.
Talked about this a lot, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say to someone that's thinking about going
Yeah.
abroad is just do it. Like, just
So
buy the
like-
ticket. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about the
Yes.
language. Just do it. Because you can travel many different ways. You can, take the backpack and get lost in the culture, which is
Absolutely.
my preferred method. I like to immerse in the culture. But if that's a little bit uncomfortable at first, then do a tour. Then you have a guardian, right?
Somebody
you said,
guarding you.
somebody kind of showing you the
Structured.
way, and it's very structured.
Right.
And as you get more confident and comfortable with the travel and the process, then change, then go
Absolutely.
for it,
Absolutely.
without a doubt.
That's
And
great.
How about you,
Sherry?
babe?
Yeah, no, I think I completely agree. I think one of the main things that I really wanted for my daughter was to live a life well travelled and see as many different perspectives and cultures as possible. And I tend to get a little bit sort of fidgety if I've been anywhere longer than sort of 2 years. So I like
I'm
to
the same. I mean, from the military, we're the same. Like
yeah.
every 2 to 3 years, we're like, okay, where are we
On
going
to
next?
PCS.
Yeah, where are we going?
Horizon
It's
Yeah, for sure.
permanent change of
No,
station.
the
Where are we
thought
trying
of
to go?
living somewhere for like 10 or 15 years was like horrifying to me. Like, I know, like.
I mean,
And I'm the only non-military one, so I mean that's the thing. Is like I should have been in the military or at least done something
Yeah.
where I've traveled constantly because unfortunately my poor husband, he's like, you need to go find something because you need to travel quickly. I do not like to stay stagnant, and I love people and I love to travel. So yeah, anyone that wants to hire me, let me travel. Just I need to go because I love people. I love talking. I love these exchanges that we have with people. I love the synergy. I love, just the conversation. So
The learning. It's all about the learning.
Yes.
And it opens your mind to different things that
brilliant things,
that you would never know. Like you didn't know that we did our chicken the way we did it.
I didn't know we did that chicken that way, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I knew something of this, but I didn't know
we
about the
did.
chlorine part. I knew it was
Didn't know the
processed.
chlorine, but now that I
I
know,
knew it
I'm
was
like,
processed.
Now I
but
have to like rethink the whole chicken
It's
thing.
the nuances, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
when we spent a lot of time in London, when she still had her flat there, and the chicken eggs, the eggs,
Yes.
they're on the counter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like that in France.
Yeah.
too.
No, exactly. It was
Yeah.
like, hey, how come we can? Well, I researched it because all I've ever seen is in the fridge.
In the fridge.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yes.
then I learned why we do it that way,
Yeah.
because we wash them and then when you do that, you have to refrigerate them.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, friends of mine looked at me weird that I had my eggs in the fridge in France, and I was like,
How
'cause
long do
it's
they
supposed to go
stay out? Can they stay out?
in- They have it out
If
once
they're-
you put it in. Once you put it in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Sorry. Once you put it in the refrigerator, you can't
Take it out.
take it out
yes.
again.
Correct.
So
But you're expected to eat them fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're like
Yes.
a difference
It's
here.
gonna be like a
You
3-week.
buy like
Yeah.
a dozen and a half, 2 dozen eggs
Yeah.
like in one
Yes.
shop.
Right.
When you go to the supermarket in London,
It's every
it's
other
like
day.
6 eggs only.
Yeah.
You get like
Exactly.
half
Yes.
a
We're gonna eat them
dozen.
soon.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
you're
Yes. You're
yeah.
buying more often too.
Yeah.
You're shopping more
Always.
often.
Every day I go to get my bread every day.
Right.
Nice.
Or I mean, you remember we were doing that
Yeah.
when you guys came to visit too as well, and so on. It's definitely a difference, and it's weird because I like I said to you guys, I came here and I easily can taste the difference in. And well, damn it, I'm gonna say it. Yes, it's horrible. Our food is great, but it's all processed, and
Yeah, it is.
it's
We know-
unfortunate.
we know that. We know that. We know.
It's
we do.
unfortunate.
We
and
do.
Stuff, so.
I guess the last thing I guess we want to ask you all is, do you have what trips do you have planned for this year? It's only May, so we're coming
It's
on.
only May.
Yeah.
We're talking about a trip to Australia for a wedding in October.
Yes.
We're trying to see if we can make that happen. Actually, before then, she's planning to go visit her mom next month in England. So then Australia in the fall, and we're talking England again for Christmas.
Oh,
we
that'll
did
be
last Christmas
wonderful.
here, so we're like, hey, let's do it next Christmas with your mom.
Yes,
Nice.
that'll be
So
wonderful.
that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
This is very good. No,
I
that's good.
still
stuff.
have yet to spend a Christmas in England, but that's actually one of my favorite places to go is the UK. So I'm really hoping that I can do that sometime because the decorations are off the charts.
Yeah, London in Christmas is pretty cool.
So I've never experienced that, and I have a cousin that lives there, so
you need to.
I really need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, soon.
But you guys then will take a trip to the real Christmas market in Strasbourg, France.
Yes,
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Come
go
on
see
over.
you, go hang
Yes.
out with
Come
you.
on over,
Yeah, we're gonna have
and
to.
all of y'all.
I mean,
can
so
come-
many opportunities.
Yeah,
too.
and stuff like this.
I mean,
too.
I just came back from Puerto Rico Monday.
See?
like 4 days ago.
There you
Isn't
go.
it great to just be like
Yeah, to the freedom.
Yeah.
the freedom to just like, you know what,
to be
I
able
think
to
I'm
do
going to
that.
do this and just do that and be spontaneous about it and stuff like that.
Oh, I love it. We recently, like in the last 3 weeks, we went to DC together, came back. Then I spent a few days in Orlando, a few days in Puerto Rico, then came back. And for whatever reason, we hadn't traveled in months. And we looked at each other. It's like, oh.
The bug.
Like, yeah, like you feel it. It's like,
I told you.
it's like, you haven't been to the gym for a while and you go to the gym, you're like, oh, yeah. I know what this feels like.
So true.
Oh,
I
yes.
told you, and then I
Oh,
tell
yeah.
you because I
Yes.
remember, and we got stories to catch up with too, Norb. But
Yeah.
when, because everything was uniform. But I told you, once you get out of that uniform,
Yeah.
and you're like, yo, I do love this. I mean, I see you always traveling and stuff. No, this is great. I can't wait to do this.
Wow,
I
so
told you.
we have to plan our next trip, but
Yeah.
but
Where are you
that-
going?
Well, no, I'm saying the three of
Oh.
us.
The
Sorry.
three of us, for sure.
But we are nearing the end of our time.
Yes.
Yes. So we're enjoying this conversation, but
No,
yes.
we enjoy it. And I
Yes.
do. So I definitely have to say thank you to Sheri and to Norb. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us on our live podcast. First live podcast
gosh,
together.
so crazy.
And
I
this
think
is
we're made for live podcasts.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think we're made for
yeah,
it.
maybe the next one will be overseas, kind
Yeah.
of thing together and stuff like this. So I want to say thank you, and we appreciate your, being here, telling your stories and stuff like that. And I just want to close out by saying, please do, if you haven't already, been subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Please like us. Please
like
comment.
us, comment, and as
Share.
well, also if you guys have other story ideas or topics you guys want us to tackle, by all means, send it to us, and we will definitely look into trying to get that out there on the air.
And please make sure, if you have any show ideas, make sure that you email us
Yes.
at pvtpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Bye.